thanks for being here and indulging me, allowing me to share some memories of him. I created this talk. We did a lecture series here at the Aviary, so I created this talk for that. And when they marketed it, they called it our marketing people gave the title, and they called it My 10-Year Relationship with an Andean Condor Celebrity. And I crossed it out and changed it because it was 13 years, and every day of those 13 years was precious to me. So they all count. And I've been asked why the king and I. This is why. The original King and I, the Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, of course, a very handsome bald man and a little feisty redhead, and so of course Andy and I fit the bill there, and that's what spurred the title, If the Shoe Fits, right? Yeah. So Andy was the quintessential ambassador. This is a huge indulgence of me to just share all my favorite photos of him and lots of videos as well. So hopefully you'll enjoy it, and a few memories of which I'm sure many of you have. There are all of the OG Andy crowd in the front row over here. That's staff from Tracy Aviary that were here back in the day when we first started bringing Andy out of his enclosure and exposing him to people and exposing the world to him. And they were here right at the very beginning and surprised me today. So it's thrilling to have them here. They love him just as much as I do. They know him just the same. So Andy was an ambassador for a group of birds that are traditionally unloved, vultures. Are not done any favors. They're not appreciated in any way that they should be, but worse than that, they're often vilified. Hollywood, Disney, pop culture doesn't do them a lot of favors. Even Andy himself, after he passed, I found out that before he was known, before people really got to know him, he was a victim himself of misunderstanding. Some of the former people that took care of him years ago were a little intimidated by him and a little scared of him, which I just could never wrap my head around. And I'm sure my former co-workers feel the same way, because he was the gentlest, sweetest, most adorable bird you could possibly want to meet. And it kind of breaks my heart in a way that he, in his earlier years, mirrored his wild relatives in being misunderstood in that way. So it takes a pretty special individual to overcome all those misconceptions about vultures. I'm sure you've all heard of they're ugly, they're dirty, they're disgusting birds, they're scary, or as they're often portrayed as villains or goofy or not being very smart. Polar opposite of the truth, and this goes for all vultures, not just Andy. They are smart and social and playful. They're excellent parents, devoted parents. They mate for life. They don't hurt any other living creature. And yet, if you think about it, we use their name when we use it as an insult. We use it to insult people. I personally have always said that I think the world would be a better place if we could all say we lived up to all the virtues of vultures as just listed. Think how great the world would be. But it takes a special individual to overcome all those misconceptions. And Andy was that special individual. I can't even imagine. Cam's going to recognize these photos. I can get mentioned in a minute, and I didn't even know he was going to be here. But I can't think about how many people have their hearts and minds changed towards favorable impressions of vultures for no reason other than Andy. Whether it was people that met him in person or people that followed him from afar. I've heard it from countless people that they didn't care before, they never looked at him, or they actively disliked him, and had grown to love vultures through getting to know Andy and following him. So how did it all start? This is how it all started. The picture on the left there is the first time I ever met Andy, within days of working here at the Aviary. He lived on exhibit for 50 years before I got here. And within a very short time of meeting him, I was like, well, this bird is something special. And the keepers at the time let me go in with him. That in and of itself is insanely rare. That a complete stranger, which I was at that time, could get that close to an Andean condor. If you go to other zoos and see Andean condors, most often, almost always, I would say, when the keepers have to go in and service the habitats that the condors live in, they'll shift the birds off. Not that they're mean birds, not that there's anything wrong with them, but they are big, they are powerful, they can do some damage, and they don't mess around. So the fact that Andy was gentle like this was my first like, who is this guy? And it definitely was love at first sight for me with Andy. I'm a vulture fanatic. I have been all my life. And he's the most handsome vulture that ever walked the planet Earth. I can tell you that. And there's no bias there whatsoever. So how did I start working with him? How did we get to this place where we brought him out the way that we did, and all of you got to meet him and get up close to him too? That's where the beautiful owl that you see there comes in, which was Megan's favorite bird, beautiful Aurora. She is also no longer with us and was perfect in every way. And there were about 13 years ago, we took Aurora up to Park City to do a photo shoot, and that's where we are there. Cam came with me. So it was me and Cam and Aurora, and there we were up in Park City. And Cam, a young guy that he was, had a blast because there was model and they were scantily clad. And
It was a very good time.
He saw body parts that building. So when we came back, I was talking to my then boss Tim about how it was probably the most rewarding thing Cam had ever done in his career, was getting up to do this, and he talked about it all the way home and for long after, and there we go. So Tim said to me, what would be that rewarding for you? What would be something that would reward what you do in that same way? And so I said, well, you could get me a date with Hugh Jackman, or you can let me work with the Andean Condor. And he said, well, the latter I can do. And so that's how it started. And he gave me the permission to start to build a relationship with Andy. He asked me what I wanted to do with him, and I told him, well, I want to bring him out and walk him around the aviary. And at first he laughed like, a good one. And I'm like, no, really, that's what I want to do. This guy has got potential. And it was his nature that made him a good candidate to be an ambassador. So I spent a lot of time with Andy. This is probably my favorite picture of me and him. Yeah, it sums it up. Beautiful.
Looks like you're telling him off or something.
Yeah, I'm not telling him off. I never told him off. He never got told off, no matter what he did. And he wasn't always good in the sense of the word. And in fact, I've got some stories about that and the mischief that he'd get up to. But he was always forgiven. Nobody ever cared. And nothing that he did was truly bad. So I spent time starting to build a trusting relationship with Andy. You know, we don't often think what it takes for an animal like Andy to trust a person, to take that leap of faith. Their natural instincts and oftentimes their personal history would lead them to believe that they should keep us at arm's length. People aren't always the greatest. I love all of you guys. You all. So for them to overcome that and trust us is something amazing. It's something that I applaud and salute. There's a song by Alanis Morissette called Surrendering. I encourage you all to listen to it. I played it ad nauseum after Andy passed. I shared it with all my friends that work with animals. It truly does give you a feel for what an honor it is when these animals trust you the way that they trust us. So I never took that for granted, and I spent every day for 13 years being worthy of being trusted by him and living up to it.